Senate hearing was held to address the unrest following the death of George Floyd. This one focused on the toppling of the Christopher Columbus statue at the state capitol. As John Croman tells us, Republicans strongly condemned law enforcement for failing to protect the statue.
Lawlessness does not work. It does not work. We found that. It does not work. It promotes more.
This after a Senate committee watched video from the Twin Cities TV stations of the 1931 Columbus statue coming down on June 10th.
A rope being thrown over the head of Christopher Columbus, you would think that'd be a pretty quick response, that something would be done right away. And in everything I've seen in the troopers across the state in my 4 years in the Senate, it's not respective of what I've seen before.
Colonel Matt Langer, the head of the State Patrol, said the BCA is seeking charges against 3 of those involved in the toppling. He said the patrol and DPS were still trying to negotiate with protest leaders when other protesters brought it down. Langer said commanders on the ground recommended against dispersing the crowd with tear gas because there were children and news photographers in that crowd.
Now, I talked about this for probably 5 minutes. In reality, that decision has to occur within about 13 seconds. So it's complicated and difficult, and people on this committee are well aware hindsight is so clear.
At times, the topic switched from how the State Patrol protected the statue to whether it should go back up.
So I recommend the statue be put back up and go through a process and not be lawlessness.
Exactly who has final say-so over whether the statue goes back up, that is an issue still in dispute at the Capitol. John Croman, KARE 11 News.
Well, Republicans assert that the State Historical Society has the power to restore the statue to its perch, but the Historical Society says the Capitol Area Planning Board controls outdoor areas.